as either of these champions, just because that's how he works. Like, he's a perma prio champion in almost every meta, in every solo lane. So here we go. I mean, this draft ended up being Gnarless. Actually, I was a little bit surprised by that, given how much Rich likes to play it.
The opposite of gnarly.
Yeah,
it's very gnarless. I agree.
You know, it's a champion Rich likes to play a lot. He could have put the Nocturne mid, and it was still a possibility with, you know, no Jace being removed here from Nongshim. It started to feel like it was a little bit less likely, but I think the power that you get with this prio on Lucian is extremely strong.
Nagori instead of Naguri, which is, I believe, a Nongshim product. Not 100% sure.
Nagori, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It's one of the
ramyun.
It's one of the ramyuns, yeah.
Yeah, but also, of course, our beloved Naguri, who's over currently in China.
It's also
the LPL.
It's also the word for raccoon.
Yeah. Yes. And Nagori, just to play on words for, of course, Gory in the mid lane, who is playing Silas for the first time here in summer. So I'm curious to see how he will do up against Faker.
Yeah, the prio that you're going to have with Lucian here is so powerful around some of those early skirmishes. You're already going to have insane engages with set support that we pointed out early on was very possible. The plus Azir to Emperor Divide, the cask. This is a great draft at the end of the day here for T1. It looked a little bit shaky at first, but they rounded out so well. You don't feel so bad about that mismatch at the beginning and how the draft was looking. A Senna that doesn't have a Thresh or a Kench, sure, but it's got a set.
Yeah, you know, all calculated, you can say.
All goes back to the set.
It really does. And it's Keria on the set. We haven't really talked too much about Keria, but this guy, I think right now, is the best support in the LCK in my mind.
Yeah, I think most people would agree with that.
Yeah.
Myself included, I'll put it out there.
We've been fans of him for quite a while, and I think he's really beginning to explode into that position. And there are a lot of good supports in the LCK as well. It's not like you know, he stands alone.
I mean, Beryl is slumping, right? You're contending with life. Kellen is in the conversation right now, too. Honestly, he's on the other side of the rift here. You know, Effort is up there. Now that Hex Flash is back, Effort definitely one of the players you're a little bit more worried about. To be honest, without it, it has been, it was all right. But the engage tools in the team fighting that Nongshim have here are very limited in comparison to T1. You have long range, you know, Equalizer, Paranoia. You could steal a lot of the great ultimates. You know, every ultimate for T1 is pretty decent, and maybe not Senna's is like not that great. But besides that, you have a lot you can work with here as the Silas. So you're like, you get one of the 5 amazing engage ultimates potentially. 4, again, limiting the Senna, but I worry about if this game doesn't really snowball for Nongshim, how they win the late game, because T1's draft plays itself later on. It's got great scaling built into it. You have set, so that means that you can almost start any fight the way you want to. You can turn engages around on themselves.
Yeah, and set's going to be good into whatever engage that Nongshim have as well. Like if the Nocturne comes in, the Silas comes in, you can create a lot of space for your Azir and Senna to do the damage from the range. So I feel like just having that in your comp alongside of the Gragas as well, right? There's a lot of tools that they have, which is why we're kind of enjoying the T1 draft comparatively to Nongshim's this time around. Gragas has played Cuz this many, no. Yeah, he's played a lot of games of Gragas. Been around here.
Yeah, it hasn't been as popular recently, but Gragas jungle has got a long history in the LCK and League of Legends metas across the years. It's kind of crazy how in this meta too, the drafts that we see oftentimes are around a lot of flex picks, but you don't think about Lucian as much of a flex pick nowadays. Like, it's usually almost always mid, but not to be the case. The flex we saw set into support has only recently been a thing again because of Hex Flash, and the Gragas flex is another one that you don't really talk about too much, but because of all these champions, these 3 having so many places they could be in, it was really difficult for Nongshim to know 100% how this draft was going to come together here for T1. Scory is going to teleport back in and eat some Sand Soldier damage, because that's how it goes.
Saw a couple of cool pings, actually, from T1's side. It was probably Cuz just alerting his team to where the enemy jungler could be. He back-pinged the bottom side Rift Herald, or Scuttle, and then the bottom Krugs camp as well. Just kind of showing the path that he could potentially take. And just to alert the bottom lane to potentially look out for ganks on the bottom side.
Yep. A lot of good communication coming down from Cuz. So it's been a pretty low impact early game here without the objective spawning. You know, neither of these teams have insane amount of control over their lanes to look for a scuttle fight. The fact that Lucian is top here instead of mid limits your power in that regard to try to look for a double scuttle. So it's been pretty calm, pretty casual. The real fighting starts for T1 when they hit their level 6s, because those are going to be really strong for them. But also the same is true of Equalizer, right? Rich is going to be able to use his Paranoia. Those are the big spikes for them. But T1, I think, have an even stronger level 6. They get Showstopper. Like, they're the ultimate skirmish comp. Set is very happy for a Nocturne to try to Paranoia into the fight early with no real items. Like, I'll face break that.
Yeah. There's definitely some items he may need to build. He's already gotten a lot of sustain in the top lane just to deal with the Lucian, so we'll see what he has by the time he actually begins fighting. I think you might want to look towards the mid lane, maybe look for some kind of counter gank if you are Nongshim. If Faker decides to go in alongside of Cuz's Gragas, because you'd imagine that with that combo, you're going to be looking to set up plays onto the melee champions of Sylas and Rumble. So I think it'll come around to how they play around the vision and who is able to set up the fights on their terms, as Cuz is going pretty deep into the enemy jungle. Speaking of which, able to get a control ward very deep in there.
Yeah, he does get. Actually avoids the Scryer's Bloom here too. Peanut will clear the control ward. Ends up being, you know, very passive exchange though. Otherwise, is we see a teleport back to lane here from Faker. Gory actually tries to capitalize on this, and he has 6 advantage, but as a result, no ultimate to steal.
Cannon and just chasing Faker down the lane. It's gonna give him level 6.
There it is. So now T1 can, once Cuz hits 6-2, and he's going to reset actually before he gets the opportunity to get in, he'll rotate in. I think this is a great opportunity for T1 to push this mid lane out and then look for a Drake fight. The bot prio is pretty insane right now. Like, Senna is up in the jungle, like, dropping a deep ward there. T1 going to actually use their teleport for Kana on the top side of the map here, though. And they're not actually going to group for it, not yet. You see that they're more interested in actually looking for a pick here onto Peanut. They know he's coming down that path. Look at these pings.
But yeah, just look at this right now. The Nocturne coming way down the top river, looking to potentially set something up. This could turn into a 3-on-2.
The fact that teleport was used for Kana right before this too means that T1 have really no intention of actually fighting for this if Nongshim want to stay. They'd rather just get this Lucian further ahead on the top side of the map. Otherwise, he would have saved it and waited, potentially hidden it and teleported maybe into the jungle, into a ward they had up there, but not going to group up. This forces Rich back into the top lane, and the low stake continues.
Yeah. And Faker, you know, he was getting in there, he was trying to clear out wards, but he immediately realized the situation and just got the hell out of there, right? There are good engage ultimates on the side of Nongshim, but there's not like hard CC engage ultimates, right? You're not really going to lock them down. There's no Gnar for the Sylas to steal and stuff like that. Sylas can use his own Emperor's Divide, and maybe that's the closest you're going to get. But other than that, you're just going to be diving very deep on in there, Paranoia, Equalizer, and hoping that you can lock people down, because otherwise they're just going to be able to scoot away. As we saw Faker easily able to just run away from that.
Yeah, Faker's going to have quite a bit of the white damage, the first 15 minutes damage in this game, because of all of the harassment he's been able to put on to Gory here in lane. And, you know, Gory is only 10 CS or so down in this game. He's been able to, you know, stay pretty okay here in terms of that matchup, right? He's only a little bit of gold down there, and this is what you expect. So, impressive performance against the most famous mid laner of all time. Here to start things out, as the bottom lane is left a little bit uncontested here, because they are going to see the group up here for T1 on the Rift Herald. That's going to be a lot of extra gold potentially over to the Varus bottom side.
Yep. They do spot Keria rotating down to the bottom side of the map, actually, and they're just going to ping that out. And Keria does have to take the long route away, but he's able to go down there a little bit earlier than he, you know, maybe would have been forced to if Nongshim would have hard committed to the Rift Herald fight, so he doesn't lose that much.
Yeah, I like the situation here for T1 because it's only one plate, bottom side. Kana catches the top wave. Faker's still got mid prio. Like, life goes on here across the board for T1, despite the fact that Nongshim didn't rotate up. They didn't, grab a Drake. They weren't able to get anything counter-wise besides one turret plate and a half. And a half doesn't count, unless we're talking about A-presses. So...
Yeah, and at the end of the day, if Nongshim aren't getting big objectives early on and they're not getting momentum in this game, you're still looking at Azir and Senna in the later stages of the game, and I think they're going to be really happy with that. It's going to be difficult to blow any one member up immediately on the side of T1, as Cuz is able to just sneak that one out on the Rift Scuttle. And just continue playing passively because that's all T1 want to do.
Yeah, that's all T1 want to do right now with the lead that they have, as small as it is. And you really do start to wonder about Nongshim's game plan here because, like you said, the steals here don't give them that much incredible engage minus the Azir ultimate. It's going to be hard to pull off a defensive cask, and that's not really what you want to do if you're Sylas. I mean, there are ways that it can happen, but later on in this game, when you're dealing with the scaling argument that you have for Faker and Teddy, plus the fact that you're so reliant on this paranoia type engage that can be dealt with very easily by the set, I'm worried for Nongshim here. I mean, it's only a small deficit in this game that they face right now, but it's what you know is coming down the pipeline that starts to feel very scary when they haven't been able to take any agency in this game, they haven't been able to force any objectives, or even use a single paranoia. Like, this draft kind of feels like it's not being utilized the way it was supposed to.
All right, well, this is going to be their first chance as the flash comes in from Rich. Gets that fear down, and there is no escape for Kana, who decides, nope, not even going to flash away from this one.
All I had to do was complain about it, Valdez, and it happens right before us, right before our eyes. There's the first paranoia. Finally, the move is made here to try to get control over this early part of the game. They don't have Prio in the mid lane, but they have enough of pressure in the top lane here with that paranoia to actually have that engage on a solo lane against a squishy Lucian. Oh.
I suppose maybe he can drop that Rift Herald. Might want to save it for a lane where he's got some friends. But yeah, I mean, even as the Lucian, it's really difficult to get away from that. And Rich committed his flash to make it happen, and I actually like that Kana holds on to his flash.
Yeah.
And just takes it. He's like, okay, this is what this comp does. If they're not pressing their buttons, we get a free win. So they pressed all the buttons on me. That's okay.
I'm going to watch it one more time. Rich instantly blocks it in, right? Like, he goes for the double here. You see the flash committed so he can get behind and guarantee that even with the dash from Lucian there that he gets the fear. We are going to see a counter gank here. So we see both jungles hovering around the top side of the map. Nongshim grouping up in mid, though. See if this ends up leading to anything. It seems very unlikely.
They really want to get value out of this Rift Herald. Rich and Peanut here to try to clear the waves. Equalizer about to come off cooldown. And this should get a charge as the cask is actually spell shielded. We got a one-on-one in the bottom side. Keria is just soloing Duck Tom just like that, able to take him out.
It all comes
on
back.
The top side, yeah.
It all comes back.
Comes back to set. We also had a kill, though, onto Kana, who this time he did flash, so it was traded back by Nongshim.
It was traded back. They do get those plates on the top side of the map. It was very close to that not actually happening, which would have been disastrous there, given the resources they committed and the death on the Kana. So, able to bring this down to 3 turret plates. Faker gets a plate in mid, too. Something else to point out, a little bit of extra gold. He's got 2 blasting wands available. He is ready to fight in this mid game. Once again, let's see how this happens. Is this just another nope. He did not actually misinterpret the set health. He just got flashed on.
The Duck Dom flash, too, on himself.
I wasn't going to say anything, you know. I was going to try to be the nice guy here, but...
Nice play by Kellen, actually. That was, he really set that entire thing up, trying to punish the aggressive Rift Herald drop, and they were able to get that kill because of that Tahm Kench ultimate.
T1 just seems like they, despite these, small blunders and like the picks that we have seen for Nongshim, T1 just have such control over this game. And, despite the picks on Kana, like, they still have gold lead as well. I mean, a lot of that's from the Rift Herald, but no Drake taken here for Nongshim. And for Nongshim, one of the ways you can always feel great even when your opponent has a later game comp than you is when you have 2 Drake advantage, 1 Drake advantage, and you can hold on to that and threaten some fights with the tempo advantage you get from that. where T1 does not want to come to the Drake because they want to just wait and scale up a little bit more and look for some later team fights because they have an amazing team fight comp. But the fact that we're now 14 minutes into the game, and even though Nongshim have gotten those 2 kills, we don't see any ability for them with the lack of prio they have in all 3 lanes to take this Drake. Means T1 are very happy that we don't even start the Drake equation until maybe 15 minutes or later into the game. Like, T1 are very happy about that.
They're totally fine to just coast here. just hanging out, you know? And things are just going really well for them. Like, say what you will about Kana dying a couple times, that's okay. You know, they lose some of that prio on the top side, but it didn't lead to them losing the first Rift Herald. It didn't lead to them losing their turret in the top lane. In fact, they were able to get the Rift Herald and do more damage to the enemy top lane turret. And so, still working out relatively well. Nongshim have been forced to use all of their pressure from the top jungle into that top lane, as Peanut has just been camping up here in the top side.
Yeah, I mean, Kana is always under turret here hitting these minions because we've seen so many resources committed for Nongshim to actually try to kill Kana, and they have killed him twice, but they haven't stopped him from CSing very well, right?
Yeah.
Like, he's doing a lot there, and it gives a lot of agency to Cuz to do other things on the map.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, Evolution is, you know, he doesn't have to absolutely destroy you. Like, he's going to be still good with the high amount of farm that he has.
Yeah.
And if he absorbs the pressure for your team, he's going to be enjoying it. Now, Nongshim are going to be able to get this as Carrier dodges there, not able to get the phase breaker, but here we go. Faker is here, and Duckdom just hates his life because there was no vision to spot Faker coming down, and he is never going to win that 1v2.
Doesn't have flash, you know, as you pointed out, wasted earlier, didn't save him then, not available to save him now, not
Where's
that he would
Kellen?
have had a chance. Yeah.
Where's your Tom Kents for the Varus, the guy who's supposed to keep him safe?
Well, he's been spending so many resources elsewhere on the map, like you and I have been talking about. And finally, Nongshim are going to be able to get this turret down, but unfortunately, it's not first turret blood, or first brick, whatever you want to call it, so not going to get that bonus. T1 have so many advantages that are unseen on the scoreline and in the items right now that it's hard to even explain why Nongshim's comp is going to fall apart later on. The one
빠지긴 했다, 근데.
engage is
아,
we're
볼게
going to watch
한번.
Faker
일단
call
볼게.
for this.
연기 좀만 해봐. 얘도 프리지. 거의
He says,
잡았어.
"Can
공
you
아껴봐 일단.
act for me? Like, 연기 좀 해봐. Like, can
가만히
you put up a
빠졌어.
performance? Like, can you act? So bait it basically is what he's saying, and
Yeah.
works out super well. Yeah, going back to what I was about to say, like the composition and how it fights versus the one paranoia we've seen from Rich has been used to close like a gap that a Lucian dash could have closed, right? But it's basically one really extremely aggressive play on the top side, but they haven't used this long-range engage style from Rumble Nocturne much at all, and it gets way harder later on. Way harder.
Yeah. Cuz comes up, even just his presence allows some more damage to be done to this turret. The proactive rotation here from T1 is going to be good for just that. There's not much else going on the map, and T1, I mean, it feels like, they're in the lead. They could potentially just go for this dragon, but they just haven't shown any desire to go for that objective at all.
Yeah.
Just leaving it on the map.
There's just no reason to actually force a fight where you might lose in this stage where Nongshim is a little bit stronger at skirmishing when you have supreme team fighting later on. And you can even know that Nongshim will never have the power to force those fights early against you if you just extend the game. And right now, you can see it's being taken here for Nongshim. But T1 just don't have any interest even contesting. In fact, they look like they might collapse onto the top side of the map instead. You can see Rich has backed off. This is going to be another turret. It looks like going over to T1, Kana is going to be guaranteed that extra gold. It's not a good look here, sadly. I mean, you can see that notification here for the Drake coming through. But it's just one small advantage against many that will become more and more strong. Like we keep saying, once we do have those team fights. Because right now, T1 is very happy to not fight because Nongshim are not using the comp that needs to fight early to do so. You can almost put a 1 in front of that too in terms of the score, in terms of the kills. It feels like that's where we're headed. Unless Nongshim can really prove me wrong here in this mid-game, one Drake is not enough.
Yeah, I mean, their mid-game skirmishing is very nice. It's just, it doesn't feel like they have grouped or decided to make any big plays as a team at all. They have the second Rift Herald. Maybe they want to make a play around that mid lane or something. That could be a potential way to get it going, right? The equalizer to zone them away. You have some piercing arrows coming out from the Varus. They have good siege. They have a good ability to do that. And turn off the lights in case T1 actually want to go into a fight when Nongshim are not exactly wanting to. But so far, it's just been farm it out and wait for a late game. And, you know, Nongshim not exactly going to enjoy that, I don't believe.
No. I mean, the skirmishing power of T1 should not be understated either, right? Like, they have a lot. I mean, post 6, like, their comp becomes really powerful too, like we talked about in the early parts of the game. But later on, it scales so infinitely well. They're going to drop the Rift Herald in mid here. Late rotation up from Gory, but he's got a nice flank angle here. Going to keep Faker at bay.
This is what we wanted to see. Put the push on with the Rift Herald. Do something, you know? Look for the siege. Look for potential plays, but instead it's going to be Duckdom who has to be devoured. The cast comes out. Kerry has taken an insane amount of damage, but easily able to soak that on the set. And so it's just the Rift Herald damage into the turret, basically. Nobody's going to go down.
They gave the blue buff over to Gory, who was actually very low on mana, and he stayed over on the side lane. And there were a few, you could see those 2 control wards on the bottom side, right above where Gory is. The red one's there that actually T1 now has to walk through. And for a moment, I thought they were going to try to make a play, because Gory was super low on mana. And actually, you saw Faker back at that timing. I thought, well, this is a perfect moment to actually drop your Feral bot and maybe even try to threaten the inhibitor turret. If you group up, you can force T1 to rotate down. You have that vision advantage. You can use a Paranoia to collapse in. And then they just tossed it mid. They gave T1 so much time to respawn. They came right back mid. You don't get anything out of it. You see that rotation up from Gory. I thought we had like an amazing play potentially there. For Nongshim, they just didn't take, sadly. Because that was the moment. The second Gory had no mana and Faker backed, I was like, okay, well, there's a chance here. He gets blue. He's going to have a lot of mana in just a second. But sadly, it's not meant to be. And like you said, all you get out of this is turret damage. Not even permanent damage on the map. Not a turret to go down, not extra control over the mid part of the map, no extra gold. T1 are just celebrating right now, very quietly, very silently about where the game state is.
Yeah. And, you know, we talked about the range and the siege potential from the side of Nongshim. T1 also have that in spades. The equalizer has to be used here in the mid lane just to push them away, otherwise T1 would have been the ones to take down the mid turret first, even though the Rift Herald was dropped here by Nongshim. And so we return to, you know, the lull state. It's mostly been this. We've had 4 kills from some of the skirmishes up on the top lane when Nongshim were actually pressing their buttons, but they've decided, you know what? Let's relax. Let's sit back.
Now, this is a very familiar situation with Nongshim where, okay,
and this is one way to do it. It's a lot of damage coming out here from Rich, looking for the solo kill, but Kana splashing the right way, and now with Cuz coming up, they're easily able to isolate him.
Oh, Gory comes down here too, so another wasted teleport. That's a lot of lost value here for Nongshim. I mean, the kill alone is really terrible, but oh, the fact that you commit the teleport there and aren't able to get anything out of it just really removes a lot of the pressure that Gory can have in a side lane.
At least Faker did have to mirror him on the bottom side with his own teleport, but...
And also the flash going down,
yeah.
I believe, for Kana too.
I think you're all right, though. Like, probably Lucian and Gragas would have been okay against the Silas.
Yeah, he flashed over the wall there, so it is a flash for a flash, but... Oh, this is... It's not a happy time for Nongshim, and I was going to say it's a bit of a familiar story because Nongshim's leads in the 10-minute mark, the 20-minute mark, they're negative, right? They haven't had, on average, any advantages at those stages of the game, and they're very small disadvantages, like about 600 gold, like exactly we see in this game, but their late game has been where they've won their team fights, where they've actually been able to win these games. And T1 has also been in this situation, as if anyone watched the Live Sandbox game last Sunday, where they have pretty significant advantages in terms of their scaling and where they are in the game, sometimes even bigger objective advantages than what we have here, but they end up dropping the ball in the later parts of the game. So because of that, you know, if you're a Nongshim fan, there's still some hope, but in a vacuum, this looks very, very difficult for Nongshim to win.
Okay, well, let's see how this Drake fight is going to go down. Nongshim are aggressively attacking it as the Varus is going to smite it with his arrow, it looks like. We're zooming in on a potential engage. The Predator was popped here from the Gragas, but T1 decide, you know what? We're okay with this. It's not Soul Point. We have mid-track here on the mid lane turret. We're going to get value other than the Drake that you just got. We're going to put up our Azir turret, set up camp here in the mid lane and force you guys to come into us as the cast there from Gory, not able to do much except push them away.
No, not very strong there. Not a really good engage potential there, unfortunately, for Gory. And these two Drakes, it could have been if Nongshim actually took the agency to take an early Drake instead of waiting until, what, it was like 16 minutes into the game they took the first one, then there was potential that this could have been Soul Point. And that's when you sort of go, okay, well, now T1 has to fight. This time they were able to just simply ignore the fight and walk away because they have that extra buffer zone.
Yeah.
Because this is only the second Drake, believe it or not, at 24 minutes into the game. So it's a small advantage, but like you said, T1 are very happy to get small advantages themselves elsewhere because the bigger picture is what you're more worried about.
Yeah.
And this is also a set game where Set plays support, but he's not really support because he's playing with a fasting Senna. So actually has real items.
He's actually really fed.
Yeah, 2 kills.
He doesn't have the largest amount of CS, but the 2 kills shore that up and put him on par with his 2 solo laners. He has the 2 items. No stopwatch. We'd like a stopwatch.
Eventually.
Instead of maybe the Ruby Crystal there, but it's okay. You can maybe get that in the future, as you mentioned. And yeah, I mean, I think we're already at the point where, yes, T1 have great scaling and maybe they'd like to wait for later parts of the game, but I think they can already take team fights now.
Double,
you know?
2 items on the Azir, so Faker is very happy.
Look at this.
Which,
just not letting Rich do anything. Rich with no flash has to just run away from Faker. There's no hope for him in that fight.
Faker has stopwatch too, so there's just no fear of any rebuttal whatsoever when the rest of his team is so nearby. Then you have this really strong side laning from Kana. Now, Gory is getting a little bit of it done himself, and he can have this really long flank coming through. T1 actually need to be aware of this, because that is one way this can go poorly. You can maybe come in here and steal Faker's ultimate and try to look for an engage. Faker and Squad are going to back off, though, and try to collapse onto him, so he doesn't have that opportunity anymore. But, I mean, I'm really stretching my brain to try to think of how Nongshim have a miracle engage here. At least there's not an insane amount of map control for T1. Like, Nongshim still have their pretty good vision around Baron right now. So there's a little bit of agency in that regard, and like Gory is still playing around that surprise attack.
There is still, okay, yeah,
wow.
He reads into it. I mean, you see his positioning in the lane. He's all the way up against the left wall. Like, he knows that he absolutely could be in that brush, confirms it, and is able to avoid any kind of aggression.
Yeah, it's like, well, last time I saw Gory, he was very much over here, and we haven't seen him since, so...
He could still be over here.
It's almost 9 years of pro gaming, game sense that you're going to have from Faker here.
Yeah.
So he is able to read into the unknown just from what little information he gleaned from the map moments before. We'll see if Set buys that stopwatch now. In fact, he does. Everything's coming together, Valdez.
Everything's coming together. It all makes sense now. Set buys a stopwatch. Harry's been listening to the casts, obviously. He's just trying to make me happy. Definitely not, but that's what I'd hope for.
It makes him look good. It makes us look good. It's perfect.
Yeah. Teddy's on 97 stacks right now. Just free. Like, there's been no pressure put on the Senna. I don't think they've engaged onto the Senna once.
Yeah.
He's just like sitting here in the mid lane. He's like, yeah, okay. Looks at his watch. 10 minutes go by. He's like, yeah, okay. 100 stacks.
This is like when, you know, they've like pre-ordered, Nongshim pre-ordered something, and then they realized a little bit too late they didn't want it, and they're like, they called Riot Korea. They were like, can we cancel this draft? And Riot's like, I'm afraid the game has already begun.
Yeah.
I'm afraid the early game has already passed, so not going to be able to give you a refund on this one, unfortunately. Like, it almost feels like Nongshim gave up on this comp just because they didn't utilize it outside of those few moments on the top side of the map.
Yeah.
They don't trust. It's like they didn't trust it. And now you can't blame them for being passive because they've missed their window. And to do anything aggressive here is almost suicidal, right? I mean, there's just you're really going to be jumping into the fire. Out of the frying pan into the fire is the situation here for Nongshim right now. You're going to have to hope for maybe Gory gets a flank, maybe Rich is able to set something up on these side lanes. Like, these are moves you can do that will give you a little bit more map control, and maybe that leads to vision control, maybe that leads to a mistake. A lot of maybes, but at least they get that top turret.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing you can do with the Nocturne in the side lane. You set the Silas on the other side. You begin to, okay, here's one thing. They go for it. The aggressive play. The stopwatch is there. The Equalizer got such incredible value as Rich tries to kill Faker, and he will. But he did have to flash for that one, going very deep under that mid turret. And, you know, Nomshim, they still have these pieces in their comp. They still have the buttons that they'd love to press. But, you know, took them a while. They finally pressed their buttons, and they're only able to trade 1-for-1.
Yeah, and part of that's because they had that really deep wraparound from Rich. He had that turret down. Look at all the vision that they have around this Baron pit, too. And unfortunately, because it's a trade, and because of all the health bars that went down low, we had Kellen go down to like half. Duckdom was almost dead. Now T1 actually get that vision, so the 1-for-1 trade favors T1 because again it extends the game. So we're gonna watch this one more time. Look at where Rich and Kellen are. They have to go so deep to make this play. Kellen is the only one who's caught by the Emperor's Divide. You see the Senna ultimate come down, so Duckdom's low. He can't fight anymore, and Rich was gonna die no matter what, but they only get one for it. But T1, let's take a look at the Baron pit now. It's actually not that bad because you see Kellen does go over there, clear a little bit of that away, but. They had a lot more control over this part of the map that they lost now after that exchange. T1, or rather, Noshim, that is.
Yeah, I mean, I like that they're trying to go for this. I do not like this positioning, as that's going to be the free kill on the Duckdom. Not sure what's going on with them on this Varus today. Just getting caught out over and over again, not expecting the Senna and Set combo to engage on him like that, but absolutely, he was there alone. They eat the free Varus. And they're going to go in for dessert onto this Baron as Rich looking at frontline, but Faker isn't having any of it. Gory is looking for it. The Equalizer is pretty nice. Faker is burning down, and he's going to go down to the Rumble. The Devourer comes out on the Gory, but look at the frontline. Rich is going to soak so much damage with that stopwatch. He's trying to get onto that back line. Not able to kill Kana, but there's so many low health bars on the side of T1, and Peanut is so huge on this Rumble. Frontlining, able to get into the Zonius. That was like the 6th one we saw in the fight, as now Kana is all alone. The Lick will miss, but Nongshim will hit on the team fight.
Nongshim, 20-minute gold deficit. 10 minutes into the game, 15 minutes into the game, gold deficit. 30 minutes, that's when it starts to come online. That's when you see these good team fights. And once again, this was a bit of a greedy fight from T1. They didn't know where Gory was. He's on the edge there. Such a great engage from him. And the fact that they have Devour means that he can actually survive that initial burst. He can heal himself up afterwards. And it's a lost fight from T1 from that moment on. Now what looked like seemed to be a fairly safe Baron from T1's perspective ends up being a lost team fight that goes over. So we're going to watch this perspective of Duckdom.
80 carry in 2021.
Yeah, I think you said it best. I don't have anything to add. So look at where Gory is here. They have a ward, but it's too late. He steals Faker's ultimate away, and Faker is stuck between a rock and a hard place. You can't actually go to the left because Gory will blow him up. And then while they focus on Gory, the rest of T1, he gets devoured. So you just can't kill him there. Rich does so much with the stopwatch, and T1 spent a majority of that fight doing nothing because Faker was caught between a rock and a hard place. Teddy was not in a position where he could actually do any damage. Rich did everything with that stopwatch, and like you said, Peanut is so fed. You can finally see it, and when the one opportunity he has to actually do damage in a 5v5 fight, it leaks through. He's got 3 items online now. He's got an Oblivion Orb too. Nongshim just found an angle back into this game.
Yeah.
Blink of an eye.
I think, you know, 5v4, T1 was very aggressively posturing there. They're like, you can't fight us. What are you doing? But then the second Faker gets burnt to a crisp in the span of about a second, they immediately are like, oh crap. And Nongshim played the fight out really well from there. It was essentially a 4v4. There were a lot of low health bars, but the Devour value that they got was pretty insane. Not to mention all the stopwatches that were used. As we're having another engage come in, Duckdom this time around, he's got his own stopwatch as he is going to get kidnapped, but this time around, he has his team, and he's able to fight front to back. Now, Gory was in the T1 lineup at the same time as Duckdom gets insane value from the brush, but Faker looking desperately to take down Kellen, and he will. And that is a big pick that could open up this Dragon, or maybe the mid lane here for T1.
T1 really want to make a play for the mid lane, it looks like here. They've got a minion wave. Gonna actually scoop around, try to remove some vision instead. You know, with only 4 members up, carry it down. It's a little bit risky. You can take the safe Dragon play, tie up the Drakes 2-2, and again, slow down the pace of the game. Now, we've talked about to death T1's strengths with this draft and their engage tools and how strong they're going to be in this late game. But like Lucian isn't that amazing later on, and also the execution of this draft still has to be good, right? Like you have so many tools, but if you don't use them correctly, it just simply doesn't matter. So we're going to see Kana do a ton of damage here, right? And you know, we know how this fight ends. Duckdom is able to kill the set, but Gory gets caught. He's alone there. He's picked. He tried to turn this into something bigger with Rich's paranoia. A little bit of an overextension here from Nongshim. We know Kellen gets picked afterwards.
Cuz almost died.
Meanwhile,
okay, here we go. We're pressing our buttons. We're looking for the set. What does Set do best? He absorbs pressure.
He's a sponge,
He
man.
absorbs damage. Somebody make the Set sponge skin already. As you can throw everything. I mean, they threw so much in. They didn't use the equalizer, though. As the follow-up cast and the equalizer does come in. The bird damage is so huge, and Kana goes down. But the follow-up engage from Faker is good. They get the top 10s, but now Faker's all alone. The rest of his team is too low, and Nongshim win a big fight. They're going to be looking for this inhibitor.
Oh, and they might be looking for more than the inhibitor here, Valdez. Peanut has had so many games where in the early game, he doesn't pop off, he doesn't get fed, but he doesn't die. He does not make mistakes, he does not feed enemy laners. He plays a very passive farming jungle style right now. We've seen it on the Nilly, we've seen it on his Rumble, and later on in the game, he makes the big plays. This is another one of those big moments for him. And Nongshim, they're looking for more. Like I said, they might, if they have minions here, they might be looking to end the game. They're going to have to back off. But such a huge turning point. We had now two big game-winning potentially fights for Nongshim. If there's a different state of the game, look, they have the minions here. They're looking for more.
They're going with this one. There are a lot of wards behind them. They got to be real careful.
Be more decisive than this, I think.
Well,
one way or the other.
I think they just can't stay here. Like with double teleport on Kana and Faker, you got to just back away. You have to respect the teleport flanks, and they will. It takes them a little bit, but they eventually land on the right decision.
Yeah.
There's no big objectives. They are not really going to break the base at this point in time, so.
Exactly, and if you look at the side lanes, both the bot and mid lane didn't have any pressure to where they could have just backed off and taken an inhibitor, so it felt like the best opportunity was just to wait for the minion wave, regroup, and maybe hope for another pick that wins you the game. If you don't, you do back away just in time for those teleport flanks to not be an issue. I'm worried about T1 here in the late game. The execution of this draft doesn't work out as well as, you know, I really expected that it was going to.
Yeah, it's interesting to see just how insane this damage can be. The poke from, by the way, the Senna ultimate that gets stolen, the piercing arrows, the equalizer, very obvious. Look at this, deny on the back. Rich is up 3 levels on the Senna up here, as Teddy is desperately trying to get away. He will die. That's a pick right there. That set goes in. Keria sets up a massive play with this one, but the Rumble is still alive. Peanut is so scary, but they hold on to their inhibitor somehow with that engage.
Somehow, miraculously, the fact that Rich isn't here means they can help push this back, and I won't say what it all goes back to, but at the end of the day, they have a really nice engage there. The inhibitor survives, but Nongshim are still in firm control of the map. We will watch this one more time. We're going to go back to this mid lane fight. You see the root comes through.
And crucially, the equalizer wasn't used.
I wanted to see,
Take a look at how much damage this poke is able to do.
Yeah, I wanted to see where Kana ends up in this, but he actually goes in aggressively, and then the equalizer catches him on his way out.
Yeah.
Everyone on T1 is so extremely low after this that Faker being out this far is, you know, a bit of a disastrous situation. Their comp has very little magic resistance.
Yeah, and Peanut has not missed once. I mean, this guy, he's got like a homing, it's like a homing missile, a homing equalizer onto as many members as he would like, as we're going to take a look at this play as well.
Yeah. Paranoia is used, so they have no vision here. They actually back up behind the inhibitor because the Paranoia was used on the top side. I want to see Keria's exact angle he takes for the attack here. Flashes actually for it. That was really well played. Haymaker is so strong. I mean, it does true damage. You have the extra shield. His grit was basically maxed out there. 45 seconds until this next Drake. It's not a soul for either team, but it will be soul point. Don't know if we'll get to see that soul in this game because the first Drake was so late. We're almost 40 minutes in before soul point. Death cap is up for Gory. Peanuts 1-0-9. Has his Void Staff now.
Yeah.
Not that there's much magic resistance, like I said before, to Pierce.
And that's really the one X factor from this composition. You can shut out the lights, you can poke them before they're even able to engage on you. And you can see now T1 are aggressively posturing. They want to engage before they get poked out here. And we'll see how it works. Like you said, I think T1's comp, it requires some really great execution. As
another
the
one.
equalizer comes in, that is big damage, but there's no follow-up this time. You press your buttons, but you gotta get the follow-up in there. The paranoia is used, that's gone as well. Kana is very low though.
I mean, with all the low health bars here, T1 have to take some time to back away. They're gonna maybe try to trade this for a Baron, but it's so obvious. There's so much vision here. I don't think Nongshim has happened. T1, you gotta back away. You're gonna lose both. And you might actually lose the game if you get wiped here. Oh, this is so risky. This is so greedy.
The TP should come in, but the thing is that they might say, okay, we can do this because of the cooldowns were just used, but Equalizer's almost up. I mean, this is like a 30-second cooldown,
Not to mention Paranoia is halfway up, so I mean, that's not going to be you're there for the fight, but yeah, these cooldowns are not extremely long. I don't think you could try to look for an objective here. You will lose the game if you get wiped there. You might lose the game either way. It's a really terrible situation here for T1. They have such a range problem in this game. Not like Kasky was looking for, but
I mean, it's poke, right?
Yeah.
It fits in really well with their comp at least.
sure. The damage is so high for Nongshim, and it's so easy to execute the Equalizer poke and the Varus poke in this late game scenario because we're 40 minutes into the game with full items coming up for these players. The gold difference here is kind of insane. Teddy has been a bit of a non-factor. Like, Set was the one who absorbed all the gold on the bottom side, as we talked about. And the gold issue is obviously because it's fasting Senna too, but
also the jungle and the mid lane, right? There's some big wallets there for Nongshim. Peanut and Gory have just been so consistent, right? Like, nothing really happened. They made 0 mistakes. And once the action started, they've been clean.
there's very little peel for Senna to actually do safe damage in this game.
Okay, here's an opportunity. Kana's looking for Rich. Rich looking to turn it around, but with the Senna help, should be good. The Fear lasts for so incredibly long. He's going to get the GA. As Gory thinking about getting in there, but Rich will be able to back away, keep his life, but not his GA.
Yeah, not his
Lucian
GA.
will.
The Lucian will keep the GA. Lucian range is so low, the Senna range is low, that you really need to rely on Keria, I think, here in these upcoming fights. You know, if Keria can actually have a really nice engage once again, you can get Faker to do a lot of damage long term. You can even have a follow-up Emperor's Divide. It all has to start here.
Oh,
not here.
Running into it. You got to be careful about this. And yeah, I mean, TWon, that's why they're aggressively posturing. They're trying to use the range of the Azir, the Senna, to try to poke away in their own right and try to get an engage with Keria, but so far it's just been so tense. I mean, we're 41 minutes in here and it feels like a fight could break out at any moment.
I mean, it certainly could, but it's so hard for T1 to be the ones to start that fight without vision control, without prio. They have mid prio, but no vision here. Keria looking for the long con play.
I like this, but Gory's coming in. The Equalizer doesn't do much. Faker has to flash out of it, though.
Not a great fight for either team, but Nongshim looking to pounce here.
Trying to cut off the minions and stop the mid push. They will be somewhat successful, although they pull themselves apart.
Gory has Emperor's Divide, don't forget. T1 need to respect this.
Okay, they will keep position on the Baron, and that is really important. They're going to steal away the blue buff.
This is actually such a tense game, and we're so late into it that, I mean, even T1 have an opportunity if they can actually scrap together one team fight that they haven't been able to do for the last 3 or 4 major exchanges. They can win this game with the long death timers. We have 42 minutes in.
Yeah.
Baron buff available here.
Teddy's getting pretty aggressive with this positioning now. I mean, he's up to 158 stacks. Like, he's going to be able to just be artillery, basically, as this game comes along. But they really do need that.
Yeah, but you have to remember too that if he tries to look for that type of play and gets paranoid on, if there's no peel, you know, if Cuz doesn't have his cask available, for example, you know, if Faker isn't nearby enough to use his Emperor's Divide, like, he's very vulnerable. The same could be true of Kana here, with these very low range. I mean, obviously range extending here for Senna over time here. Champions are always going to be the ones that are vulnerable. Keria leading the pack.
Vision is coming in. And let's see, they're going to pull off of the Baron as Keria not able to find, actually, as he gets spell shielded. Nongshim are all over the place, but that is a massive equalizer separating Faker from the team, but it does not matter. He stands his ground and is able to stand up to Rich. They take out the Nocturne, but remember the old days of lethality Varus on red side. It's so hard to do Baron against this. You just get poked down. And I don't know if they can do it. I mean, they'll have to engage onto the Varus.
I mean, the scuttle here is actually super important because they have a lot of vision. They cannot clear that.
They have a lot of damage. They do have a lot of damage here. Maybe they can ignore the Varus.
Equalizer's almost up for Peanut.
Yeah, the equalizer will be huge, but it does not matter. The damage comes out from the Varus. There is the equalizer. It burns them down.
They're
Teddy
trapped.
has to get out of this one. Cuts finds a massive combo
play.
onto the Rumble, but he dies immediately afterwards as the rest of T1 say, no, we're too low. We cannot follow up. We have to back away.
What a heroic play from Cuzzo, because without this play, they don't get out like that. It's way, 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 way harder for them to actually escape. The whole game plan here for Nongshim was actually to trap them, prevent them from coming in, as you watch this one more time. But the equalizer here is massive. Faker turns this around. But the fact that they don't finish off the rest of the kills and all that chip damage coming through from Ducktile means that doing this for T1 is still so greedy. They pull it off. We're going to see the Drake taken on live. But watch this retreat path.
Cloud Soul.
Watch this retreat path as Cuz casts, body slams here, goes gold so the rest of his team can escape. They actually don't take the advantage early. They're like, maybe we get more out of this, but no. They do get out of there as soon as he goes down. It's Cloud Soul for Nongshim, which is pretty huge for their composition, and closing the gap.
Yeah.
The ultimates too.
And all those ultimates.
Yeah, like the equalizer is basically a basic ability now.
Feels good. Feels real good for them that they're able to pull that off. We have Majais here on the Silas, and Peanut is nearing his final item. We're gonna be, I mean, they're gonna be able to basically call in tactical nukes with their composition. And T1, I mean, they have so much power in this late game, as we have been highlighting all game. But again, it's gonna come down to dodging poke, good positioning, good engagement. This is the longest game so far, as we have passed the previous longest game, which was 45 minutes and 9 seconds, a Gen G win over Hama Life Esports, match 8.
The Gen G is definitely trying to extend their average game time to be the longest in the LCK. Quite a few long games this season. The KT series, the Hama Life series, the series we just had. So, something to keep in mind. But this game is now on such a knife's edge, so volatile. The items here for Kana even are like, when you look at that, you're like, well, if you try to blow him up, you can't easily do it because he's got the Bloodthirster and he's got the GA, which wasn't popped earlier.
Yeah.
Riches is now back up, but like, who do you paranoia here now? Like, it's funny how we talked about how T1's comp was so good for 5v5 fights in the late game that they executed it poorly for a while. And then it felt like, well, I guess Nongshim just win this. But then as time went on, they started pulling it off. T1 actually started using their comp correctly and are getting these exchanges. And the late game with the Senna is starting to really show itself. So it feels like we're starting to bring up those same arguments, those same discussions. I mean, we are only 1,000 gold the difference between these two teams at 46 minutes in. I mean, it doesn't get closer than this, folks.
Yeah. This is a treat. This is only game 1 of the best of 3.
Yeah.
Welcome to the LCK. We have best of 3s over here. Always fun to watch these extended ones. And who knows what these teams do. I mean, we might just wait for the Elder Drake to come out here, as we're on 180 stacks right now for Senna. But Nongshim's comp is relatively good at keeping her at range, so she's not just able to free fire, as you know, we have been pointing out here.
Got to be so careful about stacking up like T1 are in that brush. An equalizer comes down, comes up again in like 20 seconds, do it again. Then you've got the Varus poke. Suddenly you can't actually group up anymore. There's no objective right now on the map, so neither of these teams have any reason to try to push the issue. I see a lot of comments online oftentimes in games like this where it's like, well, this team has a Nocturne and why aren't they pushing? And Nongshim's throwing away this advantage. In a game like this, you don't want to risk a fight that could cost you a game when you could actually take it with more vision control. When you're grouped up, you have control of that. You can use the equalizer and choke points, for example, around objective. There's no reason to just attack because you have paranoia and because you can engage long range. You want to wait for the perfect opportunity, the game-winning opportunity. So when everyone's almost at full build across the game, I mean, almost all 10 players are, you don't really actually care about the minion waves either. You're just like, objective, win game, that's all. That's all that's in your brain.
Yeah. You don't want to do the old Live Sandbox thing where it was like, see enemy champion, go for any enemy champion regardless of the scenario. They have kind of grown out of that. I think they've developed really well past that, even though they do retain some of that style. But I mean, here we are, 48 minutes in. We are in the longest game of LCK Summer 2021 so far. And who knows, who's going to be the guy who makes the big play?
Yeah.
Is it going to be Keria with his huge set that he's had all game long to really put down this Varus from early on and not really make him too much of a factor until the mid to late game?
Is it going to be TWon who ends up getting the chip damage with Peanut done, you know, to win this? Is it going to be a sick paranoia? I mean, with GA up, it seems like that's just going to make it be so difficult. I mean, it's never worth it to engage on the Lucian, who is such a crazy glass cannon himself. He's basically a fountain laser in this game too. Low range, but when Nongshim have a comp that walks into you, you're very happy about that. That's something we've discussed this entire time. Gory changes his boots, gets the Merc treads here. Smart choice. Is that he's no longer caring about you know, how this game started, but wants to make sure he has the power boots for how it ends.
Yeah. Definitely something you can do in your own games as well, for all you guys watching out there.
I mean, we've even seen in pro play sometimes people selling their boots to get an additional item.
Yeah.
Very rarely, but it does sometimes happen.
Tom Kent's just talking with his friend. And we have the Elder spawning here in 50 seconds, the Baron spawning now. So we didn't have any action after the last objective, but now the players will be forced to fight over this. And both teams have some pretty ridiculous objective damage, especially TWon.
Yeah, you talked about the red side defense here with the Varus, but like it's too late.
Yeah, they
too
just
slow.
don't even have any time. I mean, in goes Peanut. There's no steal. That's a nice equalizer that comes in, but Keria denies them. In goes Rich on the left side. Who's going to be more tanky? I would bet on the set, but now he's being kited out, and TWon just has way too much damage. Cuz extends in, trying to get the damage onto TWon, but it does not work out, as
Now-
Baron is secured by T1, but
You
they
can't-
cannot fight over the Elder.
You can't fight for the Elder, so you're going to try to have to split push. Look at the teleport coming through. They're going to try to end this game through other means. This is going to force Nongshim back. They're going to have to be on the defensive. This is such a smart call here from Kana and T1. They're grouping up. They might just leave one or two members to deal with the Elder Drake while trying to defend.
Yeah,
It's
what-
such a tough call to make.
What do you do here as Nongshim? Looks like the defense comes in, and it's going to buy time for T1. They're not going to be able to break the base, but it buys time for this Elder Drake to not be taken and potentially for Keria to respawn. I don't think we're going to get that far.
It feels like a bit of a foot race here almost because T1 are trying to rush over to this Elder. They're not going to be there with Keria, but maybe they were hoping, okay, maybe there were two left on the Elder. We can actually 4v2 this, but they're a little bit slow, so objectives are traded here. But my money is always going to be on the Elder in this situation.
Cuz? Nope.
Nope, not going to happen.
I mean, if you go in there and you miss and you just die, could be game from there because you can push 5v4 with Elder and probably just end it.
Valdez, yeah, we're going to watch this one more time as T1 are able to get this done. But look at the equalizer. Stopwatch is used so early on. And in the paranoia, there's a huge disconnect between Rich and the rest of his team, but he's able to escape. He has GA, so he was always pretty fine. Once Keria is dead here, the fight's over. And that's already an issue. But when you have an equalizer on top of Elder Drake that's doing this much damage on a Rumble that has Death Cap, Void Staff, right? The damage output here is insane. If anybody gets chipped down to that lethality range with the Elder Drake, that's lights out. Anybody dies, it's over. You can't take this fight anymore. The Baron buff is only going to be defensive here for the next minute. As you try to stem the bleeding and survive for 2 minutes, and if you can do that, maybe you have another chance in this game, but it seems so unlikely here as Nongshim have the red carpet to walk down to victory.
And speaking of the red carpet, I think with Elder, you just drop equalizer for damage. Just drop it down, wait 20 seconds, drop it again. You're going to be burning people for so much. You got to make the most out of this minute 20 that you have left on the Elder. And look at that damage.
Look at the damage.
They have sustain with the Senna. But is it going to be enough? The Paranoia comes in, zones them away for now, and down will go the Inhibitor once again.
Inhib is down, and Nongshim can just hover around this for a little bit longer. If T1 try to group around these chokes, if they try to group up and chase, with no vision here whatsoever, look at the observers showing us how little information T1 have, you just die.
We're going to get to like a 60-minute game here. I mean, this is... You've got Elder 5v5, and they're just like, nope. I mean, now's not the time.
Some of the same things I was talking about earlier still apply here. You mess this up, you end up losing. It's longer than the spring record.
Yeah, we have surpassed yet another record. This is now the longest game of 2021.
They're going to look for maybe one more inhibitor here. There's no inhibitor turret. Look at Rich. Paranoia almost up, by the way. Not that he needs it at this moment, but he's going to have it in just a second here. Corey's also got a nice flank out. He's going to cast.
Yeah, this is just going to burn them down so much, and they do have the Senna. And there it is. I mean, one arrow, you get the one. And this is what I'm talking about. Just use your buttons with the Elder. But instead, they just decide, okay, we'll play it safe, we'll get the 2 inhibitors, and we'll use that pressure to take the next Baron. We'll see if that works out for them, because I think they had a chance to end the game, but they don't go for it.
It's all about the execution of that last moment. You can see Cuz shaking off the pressure here a little bit on the player cam, as T1 know there's still a chance. There's still an opportunity to come back. Senna is getting stronger and stronger in this game, but it's not about the Senna necessarily, though. If you can't actually survive through all that AoE damage that Peanut is going to toss into these fights. Everfrost has gotten a lot of value in this game, too. It actually stopping T1's chases, some of the angles T1 have tried to take. Oh, Valdez, this is one of those games that like actually gets your heart pumping.
Yeah,
no matter what,
crazy.
Even if you're not a fan of either of these teams, you're just like, well, I just want to know how this story ends.
Yeah, Senna has 800 range, I think we saw there. Just adding
Absurd.
200 at this point, so this is what I was talking about. She's basically an artillery machine. Not quite the Rumble, though. And that's really where I think the crux is going to come in. How much damage can these equalizers do? The piercing arrows, the poke, significantly better on the side of Nongshim. They can keep them at range.
Remember, the reason why T1 had that Baron advantage in terms of positioning just moments ago was because Nongshim had a back timing that they abused. There's no reason to back anymore for Nongshim right now. Look at the control they have over this Baron pit. They can just use these super minions to try to threaten another inhibitor turret, but they don't have to even fight. Then they can group up around the Baron, and I just don't see any way of T1 winning that fight as long as Nongshim don't, throw quite literally here on these pushes. Just stay with the buff minions.
Here we go, equalizer down again.
Look at the cooldown. Look at Peanut's portrait. Look at how fast that ticks over.
And I like what Nongshim is doing. As long as they don't get caught, just push and wait until Baron comes up. Use the pressure from the 2 downed inhibitors to get these objectives in the late game.
And get all the vision control. Look at all the wards going up around the Baron pit. We're gonna see Kellen back because he's gonna buy something. I don't know what he's gonna buy at this stage, but okay,
control wards.
Control wards. Exactly. There you go. Surprise, surprise. I mean, I think even him backing here is somewhat risky, but you want to have that control over the wards.
Yeah, I mean, they gain value because nobody else can carry control wards this late in the game, so you need 2 on your support at least.
Yeah, and we even have Senna getting the ward box item here. Had it for a really long time, Teddy has in this game, for that reason. They have some serious collapse potential here. Gory on the flank. Rich has teleport and paranoia. And Nongshim start this.
Okay.
They're going to try to punish Rich, but he should be able to get out of here.
There is a way for T1 to kill Rich and then 5v4 Elder, even against Baron. Rich is pretty fast, but he's not faster than this. He's going to try to, okay.
Empress Divide's going to block him.
Yeah, going in now, trying to make something of this. Looking to escape to the north side. He has a GA. He's going to go down.
Minions.
Yeah, look at the push on the top side with the Baron. They're going to take him down. They do it in quick amount of time, but this turret at least will go down, and maybe even the inhibitor as well in the trade.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, Nocturne's one of your weakest parts of this game, actually, comp-wise.
Yeah.
So you're not actually too worried about losing him. I mean, they're just going to, 3 inhibitors down here. They are going to try to let the minions in the game as they stack up together here. But the Elder Drake, like you said, spawns in 10 seconds.
The minions, they're not even going for the Elder. They're just like,
God,
I dare you to go for the Elder.
They're going to try to trap.
Yeah, they're like, okay, sure, go for it. The trap doesn't work. They're not able to get that. Look at the damage, though, from the Varus on the Faker. It's pretty insane. Teddy's like, okay.
Teddy starts this. Nongshim have to rotate over. They have to respond. They're backing right now. The timing is not good for Nongshim here. Not at all. Teleport coming through. They are going to have to rush over, and they don't have any tools to close the gap. Gory's got teleport, but no ward to teleport anywhere near this Elder Drake. Have they made a huge macro mistake? I mean, putting Rich on the edge there and going for top where there was an inhibitor turret up was not the call, I don't think. At the end of the day, Nongshim couldn't threaten the Nexus. They actually went to the top side of the map. Rich is picked. He's going to respawn in 15 seconds here, but now you've lost an Elder Drake. And the whole game keeps going. The world keeps spinning.
This game is anyone's, though, at this point. I mean, the base of T1 is in tatters, right? There's 1 inhibitor, 2 Nexus turrets at this moment in time. Now, we have the bottom inhibitor is spawning in 25 seconds. Thankfully, we have that there on the left side, the indicator there for the inhibitors. But yeah, I mean, with 1 minute, 20 seconds on the Baron, you can always threaten to push to end the game, even though T1 have the Elder and will be better in team fights.
The other thing is that, arguably, even though the T1 have the Elder, because they're in such a defensive posture, that clock is eaten, like you said, because of the inhibitor situation. But on top of that, T1 don't have a comp that can threaten that Elder bar lethality because they don't have that much poke, right? They have consistent team fighting that relies on hard engage. And we have not seen them pull off that hard engage a single time in the last few team fights we have seen. They tried to kind of play their better macro game and actually win by getting Baron objective first, getting positionally into the right place, grouping up top, you know, things like this, what we've seen T1 do instead of actually straight up team fighting. Because they can't team fight well, at least we haven't seen that from them yet, and their comp is so reliant on the Gragas engage, right? The Azir ultimate. This Elder buff doesn't feel as powerful for them. It just feels like they've gained 2.5 minutes extra of a game here to play, because now Nongshim doesn't want to fight into them, but T1 can't use this Elder because of the state of the game to actually gain advantages, so like I said, the game clock keeps running. We might hit 60. We're on par for it.
We will. I think we will, unless T1 just run it right now, but they're not going to, as Teddy is still stacking. Send Faker back. He can handle these minion waves. I mean, you guys remember the 94-minute game. There was an Azir in that game, Azir Sivir. You're able to sit back, you clear waves instantly, and you can't lose. Now we're not exactly in that scenario, but you know, changes made to the different buffs and stuff.
T1 just looking at Riot and say, well, you said Elder Drake can end the game no matter what, so we won't have any of those long games.
What now?
Let's see what we do. Nothing with the Elder Drake, and then who's laughing now, right?
Yeah, Nongshim first, right?
Elder buff despawns in 5 seconds. We have.
I feel like we're counting down to New Year's or something in 15 seconds. Like we're about to pass the 60-minute mark. Doesn't happen every day.
It feels like we're counting down to 2023 New Year's, like not even 2022 in this game. As we take a look at some of the gold, some of the CS.
Okay, making a move on Akana. The exhaust comes in, but it's not enough. He does have to flash away in trade of the exhaust.
The exhaust isn't that, you know, important in this game against T1. Like, you know,
Whoa, what happened to our timer?
It also gained, it was 1 hour plus the 60 minutes. Like, I was not made for this.
What was that?
Y2K.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say. Not everybody in chat will understand the reference, but
oh my God.
It's a good one. It's a perfect one.
I guess we're just not going to have the UI anymore. It's broken. It's over.
There we go.
Hey, classic.
Yeah.
It looks like this before Elder Drake's too.
The classic UI is back, guys.
So I guess we should talk about the stakes here a little bit. This game means a lot for both teams, just like the last game. Reputation on the line here a lot for T1. They've had a really lackluster season compared to expectations, whereas Nongshim...
So far.
Yeah, Nongshim started off with really high expectations. They started with a loss, in fact, but then really bounced back big time. It was a win, but it wasn't a clean win, right? And then they bounced back big time, almost took out Genji. And for them, this is a great way to solidify a lead in the standings, as we will see a group up here.
Oh. One arrow could do it. One equalizer could be the way this game ends.
Yeah, I mean, it's all up to just one single play.
Yeah.
I don't even think Nongshim...
Okay,
here we go.
Here we go. That got basically no damage, though.
Yeah.
But the good thing for Nongshim is that you can basically say, okay, well, that didn't work. Let's wait a couple minutes. Or not a couple minutes, you know, a couple of 10 seconds, maybe. Because the equalizer will be back and the piercing arrows are still here.
Banshee's Veil on 2 players definitely helps quite a bit. That one didn't proc for Cuz, only for Faker, but something that T1 have itemized into here. We might even see, you know, more tanky, magic resistance items coming on if this game goes even longer.
Look at Carrier. The team needs to back him up, though, if he goes for this.
He's
looking
very
for
alone.
Rich.
He's very alone.
Ooh. Chains of Corruption come out, and Carrier will be denied. And no engage will happen. The Baron is available again. We got Elder in a minute.
Actually, T1 has positional advantage on this Baron once again.
Yep.
They're not winning this game from team fights. They're just winning it from smart rotations.
This is on Vision. They don't seem to care. Gory has TP. Will he use it? The answer is no. The equalizer is here. So look at Faker's health bar. Can they get out of this one? The Paranoia is in, but nobody on the side of Nongshim wants to engage. Finally, they go on out of Cuz, but Wraith is too low. Cuz, he's all alone, and I think they're going to get him. Down he will go, and in goes Gory all alone. They might be able to trade it back as Gory, I think, unfortunately for him, may have just thrown that lead, but the Chains of Corruption on Akana nearly kill him.
He's got a GA. He's going to survive for now. There's a lot of poke damage here. You know, in terms of the trade-off here, you lost your engage as both teams really, I mean, you've got Gory and Cuz down, two of your best tools to actually hard engage, but the damage is still up for both sides. 13 seconds to go on this Elder Dragon. Because the damage is all up and all ready to go here for the side of Nongshim, they can actually rush this down so quickly. Curry, I think you need to be focused on something else in the red buff here.
Can Set survive this one? The Legend of Set, he actually will pretty easily. But look at the damage from the Equalizer on Akana. He gets his GA popped. And now Nongshim, they might use that as an opportunity to wrap around here, try to get some vision. They're not going to start the Elder Drake, though.
Paranoia is up, so, I mean, this is a big opportunity if Kana does end up being isolated here to go in, but it's just so hard to actually kill him quickly enough before the rest of T1 collapses on the Nocturne who goes in.
Look at the lack of vision here. Neither team really knows where the other is.
Yeah, it's just completely blind. I mean, the fact that they have the Scuttle Crab is pretty massive for Nongshim if they do want to wrap around here.
Oh, they're going to start it. There is a ward, though.
Nocturne's going to lose his Edge of Night for this. Definitely not what he wanted to happen. Fairly low cooldown on that, but still.
Man, they're just going to burst it. They say, get over here, T1. Fight us if you want to. Rich looking to frontline against Keria. And if you're zoning Set away, that's probably a win for the Nocturne right now.
Oh, this is so tense.
Okay, looking to turn on to Keria again. They're looking to just get onto Keria, but T1, they want the Elder Drake. And they're just going to go for it. The Equalizer, though, is getting a lot of damage. They will move away.
Could be a 50-50.
And look at the trading on the bottom side. Rich is trying to get on in here. The Sentis field comes in, and the 4-on-4 over the Elder Gory nearly goes down, but Duckdom kills Cuz, and that's the enemy jungle gone.
That means no smite here for T1. They're going to have to try to collapse on Rich, but I think it's too late. Keria's still alive.
Spite is still happening. Rich is going to get away, and the damage out of the Varus is just disgusting. 65 minutes in.
I can't see how T1 win this game anymore. I can't see it. Faker and Kana both have teleport, but there's 3 inhibitor turrets up, 3 inhibitors up. You can't try to make a counter play. And now you're going to have to defend your base against Elder Drake again. Resets coming through here on the side of Nongshim. We'll see if any items go through. It's mostly just going to be for a health reset. See if they actually change their builds at all as we watch this fight from a million years ago once more. This is, I mean, absolute chaos. Once again, Cuz is on the choke point with the stopwatch
to
help
he gets
T1.
Really excited.
Gory gets excited, but he does end up getting picked here.
Yeah.
It's 2 engaged champions traded. As we watch this one more time, I mean, it's going to take a little while before we get to the actual pick that matters. It's on to Cuz.
Yeah, look at the damage here from the Varus.
Yeah.
Watch this.
Yeah. Gory is saved by the Devourer once again. That Tahm Kench is actually so extremely high value in these late game situations too. Yeah. More than a Set is going to be to save. Now Set has engage opportunities that you know you're not going to see from Duckdom, or rather that you're not going to see from Kellen, but Kellen empowers Duckdom, empowers Gory. Let's let him go in way deeper than you're supposed to be able to at this stage because of the Devourer.
Yeah, I mean Duckdom counts for 2 people at this point, so if you can empower him with the Tahm Kench to make him that artillery, he's much better than the Senna artillery I was mentioning earlier. That is for sure. He's probably upwards of like 60, 70k damage at this point.
Rich has sold his his GA.
Oh, Rich. A little bit caught out here. Kana's searching for this one. The Cullen comes out. There's a lot of damage coming in. The Paranoia will be used alongside of the Abyssal Voyage to save him for now.
I love that Rich has just gone completely tanky here with this build too. He's just so hard to kill. He's got Randuin's, he's got Spirit Visage, Thornmail. He's so extremely deadly, and the more you auto-attack him, actually, the worse it becomes. And T1, if you get hit by an Equalizer here, and a Varus, Q, W, it doesn't matter, it's over.
T1, you gotta be careful. They are pulled out of position. See you later, inhibitor. Just
and
like
now,
that.
4-1 split here is so good for Nongshim. Rich is coming to threaten the top side. You're getting pulled apart here, T1. You're going to have to make a call, and you're going to have to make it fast.
They still have Elder for 20 seconds, so T1 want no part of this.
I think they have to still look for the 5v4 fight, because you're never going to kill Rich right now without the items he has.
It's Nexus turrets or bust, I think, for T1. They want to hold on to this one, but it's not going to do anything. They only get the Edge of Night out of Duckdom. That's not what you're looking for. And that's the 3 inhibitors down. Nongshim are getting so much value with this Elder Dragon push.
They get out right when it ticks to 0. They get away. In 50 seconds to the next Baron buff, and the game goes on. 67 minutes and 40.
Oh, man.
You still have to be respectful of the comp of Nongshim. Trying to clear some vision up here. Baron pings coming down for Nongshim as they will reset one more time. T1 have an opportunity to actually group around Baron after they clear this minion wave in mid. The top push is there. They have bot push, like they have cryo in all 3 lanes. I think they actually have enough time, just barely, even with the super minions at 68 minutes into the game, to group on Baron.
They have the damage to burst it down in about 10 seconds. So, you see the damage dealt, by the way, here? I was a little bit above what it actually was, but still 56,000, pretty good.
Gory has teleport, Kana has teleport, Faker has teleport. These are things to consider when you consider the fact that the backdoor can happen so easily here for Nongshim. The longer this kind of middle happy feeding happens here for T1 as they tried to, hopefully, they were hoping to get positional advantage on the Baron, but they couldn't do it because of the extra super minion push. So they have to back away, and this means Baron buff looks like it once again goes to Nongshim, but this time they're going to have 3 inhibitors worth of super minions to push with it. T1 are losing this fight so slowly in this game. It may be a 71, 72-minute game that they lose, but it feels inevitable.
I mean, who knows, though? I mean, with the Baron and the double super minions in every wave, it feels inevitable. But if Nongshim die, if they lose all the champions and they can't push with the minions, if T1 take a team fight, they still can win. It's not going to be easy, but you set up camp here at the Nexus turrets, and you say, okay, Nongshim, come into us and see what you can do, and maybe we make a last stand.
Yeah, this is what you have to hope for. But like I've said, many times T1 have won a few trades and they've been able to win some macro exchanges, and they got that, that Baron earlier on. But they haven't been able to take any straight up 5v5 fights yet, and this is going to be the hardest they take all game.
Okay, here we go. The poke is coming out. Carrier's looking for the engage. Chains of Corruption go wide.
Teddy is practically able to auto-attack the enemy fountain.
That is very true. The push here with the Baron, you can see that still you're up against Azir. Azir still exists in the game.
So quickly, these Nexus turrets haven't taken any damage. They're going to start taking some now.
Hey, here we go, trying to get on top of the Senna. The Equalizer does do good damage. Carrier's looking to get onto Peanut in the back line, but it can't. And look at the turrets.
Nexus.
The turrets go down. You could just click the Nexus and end the game, and they will be able to do it in 70 minutes. Nongshim will win the longest game of 2021 at the LCK.
And it will be one of the longest games we see, I think, internationally all year, as Peanut comes up so big in the later parts of this game. He and Duckdom absolutely carried with the amount of damage they were able to safely put on later on. T1 made so many good macro decisions later on in the game, even when they couldn't take fair 5v5 fights. They still were able to hang on by a thread that felt uncuttable until the very last